forward, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Mr. Amanullah Ghalib, the Chief Executive Officer of DABS, Afghanistan, which is the national power utility of Afghanistan. Mr. Ghalib is an engineer by profession with more than a decade of professional experience, a lot of international exposure, and he has been associated with different schemes of Afghanistan government, and in a difficult situation that we all know is there in Afghanistan, he has delivered a lot. So he is a man of action, and I would now request him to share his thoughts with the audience here. Mr.
Good afternoon. First of all, I really apologize for coming late because I just arrived from the airport and I came in directly, so there was a bit of traffic. Wasn't expecting it. First time I'm in Calcutta, so. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's really, at the outset, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to IMA for inviting me to speak at this organization of E3. I understand that this IMA is, of course, is an electrical expo, one of the largest one in the eastern region, electrical sector, and I would be delighted to wide range of subjects, and it will be discussed here in manufacturing, installation, electrical equipments, and covering on chain of power generation transmission. This platform, great really is for us since Afghanistan is in the verge of building its power infrastructures and improving numerous generation transmissions and distribution networks. Before I just go details, I just want to give a brief information that why I'm here, of course, and what's the main reason that I want you Indian manufacturers to come to Afghanistan and work for us, and give you a brief background information that why Afghanistan is a big market for Indian manufacturers and, of course, companies. The installed capacity of generation in Afghanistan currently is 600 megawatts, but we have planned to increase it in the next 5 years to another 640 megawatts, and the 5 years after to 1700 megawatts capacity. At the present, we largely depends, our power sector depends on import of power from neighboring countries like Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and we're importing almost 4,500 million kilowatt of powers from these countries. And only despite this importing powers, despite this domestic generations, we have managed to only power 40% of our population at the current stage. But of course, in mostly the urban areas. So, but the government of Afghanistan is committed to significantly improve is in the next coming years, this energy sector. So that the power demand is growing in really fast pace in the country. And we really, Afghanistan relies on the long-term sustainability, and power sector largely depends on the ability of the country to become self-reliant. And the government is committed to achieve this in the coming years. DAPS, is the Afghanistan Breshna Shirkat, is the only utility government-owned company which has been established since 2008. We are the only utility company, and then we are more than 8,000 staff currently working and providing power to every part of the country. And the size of the assets of DAPS has grown more than 30% in the last 4 years only. We have a great potential of our own domestic generations like hydro, solar, wind, also gas and coal, with a total capacity of almost 320 gigawatts. And especially in the solar, which we have a 6.5 kilowatt of hours per meter square per day, 200,000 megawatts of capacity we have it. Currently in Afghanistan, major projects which we're doing in the country are largely donor supported. We have recently signed an MOU with ADB, which has a commitment of investing for the next up to 2024, $2.2 billion US energy sector. So there's a huge amount of funding is committed to Afghanistan, and all these funding are grants to the country. So a major part of that will be invested and distribution generation is mostly in transmission networks and substations. Apart from the ADB, we also have KFW GIZ, the World Bank, Islamic Development Bank, and other investors, major world donors are there right now in Afghanistan, with whom we are assured that we can make sure that we can develop the country's energy sector. To do that, of course, recently a renewable energy power policy and national energy policy has been approved by the country, by the government, which lays emphasis on development of the energy sector, and the government has a strong commitment to get that. Apart from this one, we have also private sectors, or the doors are open for the private sectors to come and invest in the different sectors of the energy generation, transmission, and distribution. We have signed 5 PPAs recently, one in hydro at 100 megawatt with Turkish company, 10 megawatt solar with US-backed viability gap Indian company Dynasty, and 2 gas projects, and of course a 30 megawatt solar project by Afghan and of course as well as German companies who's investing in these solar projects. So despite all the situations which you hear the news is negatively, mostly Afghanistan, there's a big opportunity as well. And of course, if these companies can come and invest, I'm sure that other big companies like yours in India can come in as well and can work with us. The national grid, we have a national grid right now established, which tries to connect a 500 kV line, 220 and 110 kV lines. And the grid certainly spans around the eastern and southeastern of Afghanistan. And apart from these, our national grids, we also have Afghanistan, based on a strategic location, has regional projects like CASA 1000. Most of you probably would know it. We have 2 big companies of India, Kalpatra and KC, of course, has won the contracts and they are implementing that project. It's a regional connectivity connecting the Central Asia to South Asia. And apart from this one, we have a TAP project called Turkmen-Afghan-Pakistan transmission line, and a 2-TAP, which is connecting the Central Asia, Turkmen Uzbeks, through the Central Asian extra surplus power will transmit to South Asian countries. So we have almost signed projects or an announcement in the project in the pipeline to be announced, both in 500 kV line transmission substations as well as 220 and 110 different parts of the country. So an implementation of these projects would entail huge demands of the power sector, and the government of Afghanistan is extremely keen to develop these integrated manufacturing facilities of standard products, equipment such as motors, transformers, conductors, insulators, towers, and different hardware equipments. Further, the government of Afghanistan has decided to change the mode of project implementation. So it's a big opportunity right now, based on this current change in the policy and the government law, that we are trying to EDB for certain types of the projects. We are separating the implementation from the package, the components of that, and EPC contract. So from survey, design, installation, we try to buy the equipment separately, and those equipments we already have identified for the next 5 years which are those equipments will be, and the funding commitment is already there from our donor partners. And DAPS, of course, the utility sector, which I'm representing, was certainly procured equipments and supplied to the contractors who was implementing agencies. So for implementing this policy, we have conducted a roadshow in Dubai in last September, where most of the Indian companies have come in. Of course, we're trying to look for more companies to come and join with us. Based on this change in policy, the government wants to sign a framework agreement with large manufacturers. And 5 countries have been selected, and India is one of those countries which we want to work with them in the long term. And based on that roadshow, both ADB and World Banks, of course, they've given their commitments, and we are sure that if we get the framework agreements for the next 5 years, we'll procure the equipments and we'll be taking part on those big projects for the coming years. Apart from this one, the government is committed to give following facilities, to the manufacturers, like free land for a manufacturing facility, 0 tax on import of raw materials, assistance in providing security, provision of low tariff electricity, and up to 25% price preference for local manufacturing equipments locally as per the law. So it's a good opportunity. We look for you big companies to come in Afghanistan and work with our local companies, local Afghans, especially to develop the manufacturing. So right now we're in the process of collecting proposals. So me coming to this EMA E3, the main reason is to meet with you and share with you all those possible opportunities that you can come and, of course, take part. You can take part directly, or you can have a joint venture with Afghan companies, or you can have with existing Indian companies who right now working in the country, like KC and Kalpatra and, of course, Dynasty, those companies. They can come in directly and join with them. So I request all those companies who are still not aware or not being in the process, come and join us, be part of this whole process, and I'm sure that jointly we can develop the sectors in Afghanistan, and we can jointly build the sector. So with this, I'll take the opportunity once again to thank EMA for inviting me to speak to this conference, and I wish a great success to this exhibitions, and I'm looking forward to meet anyone who has any specific questions, any specific queries, or the list of the projects. So I'll be here for the next 2 days. Today and tomorrow I'll be in Calcutta. So if you have any specific questions or queries, how to come in, how to join, you're most welcome. We're looking forward to you. Thank you very much, and thanks a lot for your time.